The alien ship's dark hull gleamed under portable lights as Dr. Sunwoo ran his hand across strange symbols etched into the metal. Unlike his colleagues who needed special suits, Sunwoo could touch the ancient vessel without harm. Something about human skin allowed safe contact. Fascinating, he whispered, activating his recorder. The metal responds to human touch with subtle temperature changes, possibly a recognition protocol. Across the vast cavern, dozens of these massive warships sat silently. Their discovery 3 weeks ago had shaken the Galactic Confederacy to its core. The Andromeda Nexus had always been thought uninhabited before current civilizations arrived, yet here was proof of an advanced spacefaring race from 50,000 years ago. Behind Sunwoo, 3 Arctuvian researchers chittered among themselves. Their insect-like mandibles clicked in what Sunwoo recognized as dismissive laughter. Still believing humans had anything to do with these marvels, Dr. Sunwoo asked Chief Researcher Khalith, his voice translator barely hiding his mockery. Perhaps you should leave such complex analysis to species with proper scientific traditions. Sunwoo didn't respond. After 15 years as the only human xenorchaeologist at the Confederacy Science Academy, he was used to the ridicule. Humans were newcomers to galactic society, only achieving faster-than-light travel 3 centuries ago. The Arctuvians and Taurians had been exploring space for millennia. The material composition matches nothing in our database, Sunwoo noted, ignoring the jibe. And these geometric patterns appear consistently across all vessels. The lead Taurian engineer, Bovinar, snorted through his bull-like nostrils. Obviously Taurian mathematical principles. Our ancestors likely built these ships before the Great Forgetting. The Great Forgetting, a convenient myth many species used to claim they once ruled the stars before some catastrophe wiped their historical records. Sunwoo had debunked dozens of such claims with hard evidence, earning him few friends among the Confederacy elite. A young assistant rushed up to Sunwoo. "Doctor, we've found something in the command center of the flagship." Inside the largest vessel, teams had cleared pathways through corridors untouched for 50 millennia. Sunwoo followed the assistant to a vast circular room dominated by a chair-like structure in its center. Around it, consoles with strange markings sat dormant. "We detected energy readings when researcher Jiho touched this panel," the assistant explained, pointing to a curved section of what appeared to be glass. "Another human?" Sunwoo asked, surprised. "Yes. When Jiho touched it, these appeared." The assistant gestured to glowing symbols now hovering above the panel. They looked vaguely like language, but unlike any known script. Jiho, a young woman with intense focus in her eyes, nodded at Sunwoo. "It responds only to human touch, sir. We've had 17 species try. Only humans activate the systems." The revelation sent a chill down Sunwoo's spine. For years, his research had suggested humans might have played a larger role in galactic history than the Confederacy acknowledged. His papers theorizing that humans had achieved space travel before their recorded history were laughed out of academic journals. "Let me try something," Sunwoo said, approaching what appeared to be the captain's chair. As his fingers touched the armrest, the entire room hummed to life. Lights activated along the walls, and holographic displays appeared, showing star maps and ship schematics. A deep voice spoke from nowhere in perfect human language. "Command authority recognized. Human genetic pattern confirmed. Welcome, Captain." The group fell silent. Even the normally chatty Arctuvians stood speechless. Bovinar recovered first. "A translation matrix. It's analyzing our language and responding accordingly." "Then why did it speak human standard without hearing us speak it first?" Sunwoo challenged. "And why does it only activate for humans?" News of the activation spread quickly through the research teams. Within hours, the fleet site was swarming with Confederacy officials and security forces. Humans from various research teams were gathered to test the phenomenon further. Each human touch brought more systems online. Each time, the ships recognized human genetic patterns instantly. The evidence was becoming impossible to ignore, though many tried. Perhaps humans were servants to the true builders, suggested a Taurian diplomat hastily dispatched to manage the situation. Simple genetic keys programmed to activate the vessels. Sun Wu laughed for the first time in weeks. Servants who can operate the most advanced weapon systems ever discovered. Unlikely. In his private research tent, Sun Wu examined data from the ship's memory banks. What he found confirmed his wildest theories. The language, once deciphered, wasn't alien at all. It was Proto-Indo-European, an ancient human language family. The navigational charts showed Earth at the center of a vast empire spanning 3 galaxies. When Sun Wu presented his findings to the Confederacy Science Council, the laughter that had followed him for years finally stopped. The uncomfortable truth was becoming clear. Long before the Taurians achieved electricity or the Arctuvians discovered the wheel, humans had built the most powerful fleet the galaxy had ever known. And now, after 50,000 years of slumber, that fleet was waking up because humans had returned to claim their legacy. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with angry voices. Hundreds of delegates from across the Confederacy filled the tiered seating. At the center podium stood Dr. Sun Wu, calm despite the storm of criticism aimed at him. "This is absurd," bellowed Councillor Dravax of the Taurian Empire. His massive bull-like form towered over the human scientist. "Humans barely mastered atomic energy 5 centuries ago. The notion that your primitive species built the ancient fleet is not just wrong. It's insulting." Sun Wu tapped his data tablet, bringing up holographic images of symbols found throughout the derelict ships. These markings match pre-classical human writing systems. Sanskrit, Proto-Sinaitic, early Chinese pictographs, all human languages from Earth's ancient history. Coincidence or contamination? Dismissed High Scholar Vrisk of the Arctuvians, her insect-like mandibles clicking rapidly. "Your research team has been crawling over those vessels for weeks. You've tainted the evidence." Sun Wu shook his head. The symbols were found in sealed compartments, untouched for 50,000 years. And there's more. The next image showed engineering schematics. The propulsion system is based on a modified Alcubierre drive, a concept first theorized by a human physicist named Miguel Alcubierre. The mathematics are distinctly human. The council chamber grew louder with objections. Humans made up less than 1% of the Confederacy's population. Their homeworld, Earth, was considered a backwater planet. The idea that humans had once commanded the most powerful fleet ever discovered was being rejected outright. Admiral Curie, the highest-ranking human in Confederacy military, stood from her observer seat. "Director Sun Wu, while I appreciate your enthusiasm for human achievement, even I find these claims difficult to accept. Our historical records show no evidence of space travel before the 22nd century." "That's exactly my point, Admiral," Sun Wu replied. "Our records are incomplete. Something happened to erase humanity's true history." The Grand Arbiter, a massive crystalline being who led the council, pulsed with blue light. "Dr. Sun Wu, your theories lack substantial proof. Do you have anything beyond these circumstantial connections?" Sun Wu nodded to his assistant Jiho, who wheeled forward a small container. "Yes, Arbiter, I have definitive proof." From the container, Sun Wu removed a metallic sphere about the size of a human head. Its surface gleamed with the same strange alloy as the ancient fleet. "This was found in the central command vessel. It appears to be an artificial intelligence core. We've determined it's still functional but dormant." The chamber quieted as curiosity overtook skepticism. "All attempts to activate it using standard Confederacy protocols have failed," Sun Wu continued. "However, we discovered something remarkable about its interface." Sun Wu placed his palm on the sphere. Immediately, it hummed to life. Blue light spilled from seams that appeared in its surface. The sphere rose from his hands, hovering at eye level. "Identity confirmed. Human genetic pattern recognized," spoke the sphere in a clear, resonant voice. "Activation protocol accepted." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The sphere projected a holographic display showing humans in strange uniforms operating the very ships now being studied. Ion Strategic Intelligence Unit 7293, created by the human stellar commonwealth in the year 32,591 BCE by your current calendar. I served aboard the Judgment of Dawn, flagship of the 7th Fleet under Admiral Hanuel. The council chamber fell into stunned silence. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Curie. The AI continued, "My primary directive is to assist Commonwealth officers in ship operations and strategic planning. I detect no Commonwealth signals. Please update me on current status." Sun Wu's heart raced. The Commonwealth no longer exists. These ships were discovered abandoned. We know nothing of this history you speak of. The sphere pulsed with activity, scanning the room. Anomaly detected. Human neural patterns show no recognition of Commonwealth protocols. Historical database comparison suggests memory loss event occurred approximately 50,000 years ago. Initiating historical recovery program. New images appeared. Earth at the center of a vast network of colonies spanning 3 galaxies. Massive cities on planets humans had yet to discover. Ships that dwarfed even the ancient fleet. The human stellar commonwealth stood for 15,000 years as the dominant force in the known universe, the AI explained. Humans evolved faster than predicted, achieving interstellar travel 50,000 years before any other current spacefaring species. Counselor Dravax slammed his fist on his console. "This is a human trick, a programmed deception." The AI turned toward the Taurian. "Your species, Taurus sapiens, was in its early agricultural phase when humans established first contact protocols with your world. The Commonwealth designated your planet a protected development zone in 35,000 BCE. Similar revelations followed for each major council species. All had been discovered, studied, and sometimes guided by the ancient human civilization. If this is true, the Grand Arbiter's translator conveyed, why did this great human empire disappear? The AI sphere dimmed slightly. Data corrupted. Historical records indicate a catastrophic war with an enemy designated the Void. Final records show implementation of Protocol Omega, the deliberate suppression of human technological advancement and historical memory to hide humanity from enemy detection. Sun Wu looked around the chamber at the shocked faces of the council delegates. "We didn't lose our history," he said quietly. "We erased it to survive." In that moment, the laughter and mockery that had followed humans throughout the Confederacy died forever. In its place grew something new and frightening, respect tinged with fear of what humanity might remember. Alarms blared through Containment Station Alpha as red emergency lights cast eerie shadows across worried faces. On the massive view screen, 3 of the ancient vessels were moving, their massive engines glowing with impossible power after 50,000 years of dormancy. "All defense platforms, lock onto those ships." Authorization Jaehyun 7 Alpha, barked Admiral Jaehyun into his comm unit. The Admiral's normally composed face showed rare strain as he watched the impossible unfold. "Sir, weapons have no effect," reported a junior officer. "Our targeting systems cannot lock onto the vessels." Dr. Sun Wu stood quietly in the corner of the command center, watching as the Confederacy's most advanced military technology proved useless against ships built when humans were supposed to be living in caves. "Dr. Sun Wu, explain this," demanded Jaehyun, turning to the scientist. "I can't stop what I don't understand," Sun Wu replied calmly. "When Jiho and I activated the AI core at the council meeting, we must have triggered some kind of automated recovery protocol. On the screen, the ancient ships moved with perfect precision, ignoring the frantic defensive measures around them. Their hulls shimmered with a strange light that seemed to bend reality around them. "Sir, we're detecting energy signatures consistent with quantum communications," called out a sensor officer. "The ships are sending signals, everywhere, to points beyond the edge of charted space." Jaehyun's face paled. "To whom?" "Unknown, sir, but the signals are instantly reaching destinations thousands of light years away." Sun Wu's comm unit chimed. It was Jiho, still aboard the flagship of the ancient fleet with a research team. "Doctor, something strange is happening." Her voice trembled with a mix of fear and excitement. "The AI is downloading data directly into our neural implants. It's our history. The real history of humanity." Before Sun Wu could respond, a blinding light flashed from the ancient vessels. When it cleared, holographic projections filled the space above them, showing star maps, outposts, and colonies. "What am I looking at?" whispered Jae-yun. "The human stellar commonwealth," Sun Wu replied, his voice filled with awe. "Our forgotten empire." The images showed hundreds of worlds across multiple galaxies, cities that dwarfed anything in the current Confederacy. Technology that seemed like magic, all built by humans. Aboard the flagship, Jiho and the other human researchers were experiencing something even more profound. As the ship's systems interfaced with their neural implants, ancient memories locked in their DNA began to surface. Jiho gasped as knowledge flooded her mind. She suddenly understood the ship's propulsion system, weapons, and communications array. More importantly, she remembered why they had been forgotten. "The void," she whispered, the words coming from somewhere deep in her genetic memory. They came from between the galaxies. They consumed everything they touched. Back at the command center, the holographic display shifted to show a terrible war. Human fleets battling against ships that seemed to be made of living darkness. Entire star systems being devoured. The war lasted for 300 years, Sun Wu narrated as the images played out. Humanity was losing. The Commonwealth made a desperate decision. The display showed Earth, isolated and primitive. Scientists working on a massive device. They wiped their own memories. Sun Wu continued. They regressed human civilization back to the Stone Age. They hid our tech, our history, our very identity, all to hide from the void. Admiral Jae-yun watched in stunned silence. Why would they do that? The void tracked advanced technology and consciousness, explained Sun Wu, drawing from newly awakened memories. By becoming primitive again, humans became invisible to them. We sacrificed our civilization to survive. Across human space, a strange phenomenon was occurring. People with no connection to the ancient fleet suddenly stopped whatever they were doing. Farmers, teachers, engineers, and children all paused as dormant genetic memories stirred within them. On a distant mining colony, a simple worker named Dong-yun dropped his tools and began drawing complex schematics for quantum weapons in the dust. He had never studied advanced physics, yet suddenly understood principles beyond current science. In the Martian capital, a kindergarten teacher named Yunji suddenly spoke a language no one had heard before, the command language of the Commonwealth fleet. The ancient ships continued to move, ignoring all attempts to stop them. Their quantum signals activated long-dormant outposts hidden throughout unexplored space, facilities buried inside moons, hidden in gas giants, and concealed within the fabric of reality itself began to power up. Admiral, called a communications officer, we're receiving reports from across human colonies. People are remembering things, skills they never learned, places they've never been. Jae-yun turned to Sun Wu. What's happening to our people? The Commonwealth didn't just hide their technology, Sun Wu explained, feeling memories unlock in his own mind. They encoded their knowledge into our DNA, designed to activate if the fleet was ever rediscovered. We're not just remembering our history, we're becoming who we once were. The flagship of the ancient fleet suddenly opened a communication channel. Jiho's face appeared on screen, but her expression had changed. She stood straighter, with the confident bearing of someone much older and more experienced than the young researcher who had boarded the ship. This is Acting Fleet Commander Jiho of the Commonwealth 7th Fleet, she announced in a voice that carried unexpected authority. The awakening has begun. The outposts report the void has returned to the edges of our former territory. We have limited time to prepare. Admiral Jae-yun stared at the young woman he had known for years, now transformed. Prepare for what? Gio's eyes reflected knowledge from another age. To finish the war we were forced to abandon 50,000 years ago. The memory wipe was never meant to be permanent, just long enough for the void to believe we were extinct. Now we must remember everything, or there will be nothing left to save. As she spoke, the ancient fleet began to glow with power that defied understanding. Humanity's forgotten legacy had awakened, and with it, the memory of an enemy that consumed galaxies. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so filled with fear. Representatives from 37 species sat in stunned silence as they watched footage of an ancient human warship passing directly through the strongest shield barrier in the Confederacy. The vessel simply phased into another dimension before reappearing on the other side, completely unaffected. "This is impossible," whispered High Counselor Crab of the Taurians. His species had long prided themselves on their military might. Now their most advanced defenses looked like children's toys. At the center of the chamber, human ambassador Junho stood calmly. In the 3 weeks since the ancient fleet's awakening, he had changed. All humans had. His posture was different. His eyes held knowledge that hadn't been there before. "What you're seeing is fifth-dimensional phasing," Junho explained, "a basic technology from the early Commonwealth period. The ships aren't breaking your shields. They're simply moving around them through dimensions you cannot perceive." The Arctuvian representative chittered anxiously. "And these weapons that target across multiple timelines, that strike targets before they've even moved. Quantum-locked targeting systems," Junho said simply. "I understand this is disturbing. 3 weeks ago, I wouldn't have understood any of this either." That was the most frightening part for the Council races. Humans across the galaxy were changing before their eyes. Miners and farmers were suddenly discussing advanced physics. Children were speaking dead languages. Humanity was remembering its true nature. The Grand Arbiter's crystalline form pulsed with nervous light. "We must address the deception perpetrated by certain council members. Ambassador Junho, you have the floor." Junho activated a holographic display showing artifacts from various worlds. These items were discovered on 17 Confederacy planets over the past 8 centuries. All were classified as unknown origin and sealed in restricted archives. The items were clearly of human design, matching the technology of the ancient fleet. "The Taurian Science Ministry knew of our past," Junho continued, "as did the Arctuvian Historical Council and the Plex Directorate. You found our artifacts. You studied our technology. And you hid the evidence, even as you mocked our species as primitive newcomers." Silence filled the chamber. No denials came. Finally, Supreme Director Jor of the Plex stood. His gelatinous form trembled. "What would you have had us do? Tell the galaxy that the seemingly harmless humans were once the most powerful force ever known. That they commanded technologies we still cannot comprehend. We feared what would happen if you remembered. And now we have," Junho said quietly. "In the 3 weeks since the awakening began, humanity had changed forever. The genetic memory triggers embedded in human DNA had activated across every colony. Knowledge locked away for 50 millennia was returning. On the colony world of New Eden, Farmer Minjin woke one morning understanding how to build quantum communication arrays. By sunset, he had constructed a device that could send messages across the galaxy instantly, using materials from his farm equipment. In the mining colonies of the Outer Rim, simple laborers began building weapons that could target enemies through solid matter. Engineers suddenly understood propulsion systems that bent reality itself. Most disturbing to the Confederacy was the change in human behavior. The once adaptable, somewhat submissive species had developed a quiet confidence that bordered on dismissive toward technologies they had once admired. Back on the ancient flagship, now renamed Memory of Dawn, Acting Fleet Commander Gio received reports from awakened outposts across 3 galaxies. Facilities hidden in dimensional pockets, inside stars, and beneath the surfaces of supposedly uninhabited planets were coming online. Some outposts had maintained autonomous function for 50,000 years, patiently waiting for humanity to remember. Status report. Geo ordered, standing on the command deck that hummed with power beyond Confederacy understanding. 17 defense stations are operational, reported Tactical Officer Hyunwoo. 3 weeks ago, he had been a university janitor. Now he operated weapons systems that could destroy stars. The dimensional barrier around the Sol system is at 60% strength. Early warning networks detect void activity at the galactic rim, approximately 8 light-years from Confederate space. Jiho nodded. Time estimate until contact. The void is moving slowly, perhaps testing for resistance. At current speed, 6 months until they reach populated systems. On a Confederacy military station, Admiral Jaehyun met with human officers who now outranked him in ways that had nothing to do with official hierarchy. Their genetic memories made them veterans of a war that had raged before any current civilization existed. "You need to evacuate these sectors," said Commander Do-Yun, pointing to star systems near the galactic edge. Once a junior maintenance officer, he now moved with the authority of someone who had seen galaxies fall. "The void will consume them first." "Those are some of our most populous regions," objected Jae-Yun. "Billions of people. We can't just." "You can and will," Do-Yun interrupted, "or they will die. The void doesn't conquer, Admiral. It consumes everything. Matter, energy, consciousness itself. There is no defense except to not be there when it arrives." In the following days, the Confederacy Council made a historic decision. For the first time in its 12,000-year history, the Confederacy officially placed its defense forces under the command of another entity, the reborn human Commonwealth Fleet. The ancient vessels, now fully awakened and joined by new ships emerging from hidden outposts, formed a barrier between Confederate space and the approaching darkness. Humanity, once ridiculed as primitive newcomers, now stood as the only shield protecting the galaxy from extinction. On worlds across Confederate space, humans who had lived their lives as ordinary citizens stepped into roles defined by genetic memory. They became again what their ancestors had been, protectors of all life against the hunger that lurked between galaxies. And as the ancient fleet moved into formation, ready to face an enemy they had retreated from 50,000 years before, the laughter that had once followed humans through the stars was replaced by a single desperate hope, that humanity remembered enough to save them all. In the aftermath of centuries of ridicule, humanity emerged not with anger, but with wisdom. Admiral Minji, a beacon of strategic brilliance, took command of the human fleet and began weaving a new narrative of cooperation. The massive ancient vessels that once symbolized human isolation now became guardians of galactic peace. The council races watched with a mixture of awe and unease as humans revealed the true purpose of their technological legacy. These weren't just ships. They were carefully designed instruments of protection against a mysterious, lurking threat that humanity had known about long before any other civilization. As diplomatic talks unfolded, the chastened alien races began to understand that humans were not simply a species to be dismissed. They were architects of survival, engineers of a defense mechanism against an unknown but terrifying enemy. The fleet's archives hinted at a coming danger so profound that it made all previous galactic conflicts seem trivial. Minji worked tirelessly to build trust. She shared limited but critical information about the impending threat, just enough to make the council races recognize the gravity of the situation. Humanity's centuries of isolation had not been weakness, but a deliberate strategy of preparation. The vessels, once seen as relics of human aggression, now stood as sentinels. Their advanced systems, developed through generations of secret research and technological innovation, were calibrated to detect and potentially neutralize an extraterrestrial menace that had been waiting in the dark corners of space. Slowly, the galactic community began to shift its perception. The laughter that had once mocked humanity died away, replaced by a growing respect and a shared sense of potential doom. Humans were no longer the outcasts. They were becoming the unexpected saviors. Minji understood the delicate balance of this new reality. She knew that revealing too much would cause panic, but revealing too little would prevent proper preparation. Her diplomatic skill became as crucial as the fleet's technological might. The ancient ships transformed, their weapon systems now configured not for conquest, but for protection. They formed a defensive network that stretched across star systems, a shield ready to intercept the unknown threat the humanity's archives warned was approaching. Council representatives began to study human history with new eyes. What they had once considered bizarre and incomprehensible behavior now made strategic sense. Every seemingly strange decision, every period of isolation, every technological development, all of it had been part of a grand, generations-long preparation. As stellar charts were reviewed and historical records cross-referenced, a chilling picture emerged. Humanity had known about this threat for centuries, perhaps millennia. Their entire technological and social evolution had been a response to this coming danger. The galaxy held its breath. The jokes about human eccentricity vanished. In their place grew a profound, almost reverent understanding that these beings, once considered primitive and aggressive, might be the only thing standing between current civilizations and total extinction. Minji looked out at the vast starscape, her fleet positioned at strategic points. She knew the enemy was coming, and this time, humanity would be ready.